What's going on, everyone? I'm Ben Cleveland and I'm back with another installation video from torq-masters on their latest and greatest locker that they come out with, 30 spline rear axle setup for the SmartLok Differential. Now this setup is designed to be able to run OEM rear axles in the front or OEM equivalent strength rear axles in the front. It's a great setup, it's cheap, and you have a true locker in this. Now in two-wheel drive, your front tires are going to spin independently of each other. No binding, no walking sideways, no pushing the front tires. Turns good, very good turn radius. Don't lose any of that. But as soon as you put it in four-wheel drive and it gets a pinion load, this thing locks in hard. All four tires pull no matter what the conditions are, unless you break an axle. Got a little bit of time on your hands, I'll show you how to do this. It's basically the same as the 24 spline OEM front with just a couple added steps. Not a big deal. Let's get right into it. Start off just like the other one by removing the actuator. You don't want to break this. 4 T30 bolts. 3 on the side, 1 on the top. Pop your actuator right off. Next, we're going to switch up 12mm side cover bolts. Set them to the side. A couple screwdrivers to pry this off. Can-Am was gracious enough to put you a couple recesses in there to be able to pry off of. Got an O-ring that seals that side. Try not to tear it. Get that side cover off and we can pop the old carrier out. Set it to the side. Now, once again, this is just like the front axle setup. If you have shims, you have to reuse the shims. I'm going to take this tone ring, we're going to pry up on it evenly till we can get this to pop up. And there we go, she's starting to come. And she's off. Same with the bearing. Just give it a little howdy do. Switch over to the pry bar so I got a little bit more leverage on it. Pop right off. Easy peasy. Set that to the side as well. We're gonna swap over to the 14mm, get these ring gear bolts out. Flip it over, get your dead blow, find your 2 dowels, smack there. There we go. Set the ring gear here. There is not a shim on this side here, so you do not have to think about reusing one. Set that out of the way. Gonna grab the case. Now this is a little bit more involved on the passenger side of the diff than the other one was. You didn't have to remove it on the front axle setup, but you do on this setup because we got new seals for the bigger side gears. This side's a little bit more tricky to get off sometimes because it is siliconed on there. It don't have an O-ring on there. But once again, Can-Am put a couple tabs on there for you to be able to tap off. No O-ring to worry about tearing. Just a lot of silicone. So on this side of the differential, you have the clutch pack. This is what we got to get to. You also got these roller balls that applies pressure to the clutch pack. We're reusing everything. That way this thing is just a drop-in setup. Now, This center on this clutch pack is too small for the new side gear to go all the way through. So what we're going to do is remove this. Now for the sake of the video, I've already got one removed, but it's pretty simple. You got a little clip right here on top that sits into a groove, and all it does is hold them clutch packs in. This is what it looks like when you remove it. Just nice and open. So that side gear can fit right through there. We are going to reuse the shim that's there. Set that back down in place. Clean everything up. Set that back down. Now, we will wipe this down real good and install it here in a little bit. First, gotta knock this oil seal out. Pretty simple. Alright, this. Get the big Bertha hammer. Pop that seal right out. In the kit comes with new seals for the bigger side gears. Set that down. Make sure your surface is clean. Get it started by hand. Tap that bad girl in there until she is seated nice and flush. Oh, we're good there. Yep, nice and flush. So we're gonna clean this up a little bit. Get ready for silicone. Now I'm not gonna silicone this on camera for the sake of time, but we're gonna do this here in a little bit. So this is the apparatus that puts pressure onto the clutch pack via that actuator on the side of the differential. This all stays intact. This is a drop-in setup, so we're going to leave it all there. This side is ready for reinstall. Like I said, we're just going to mock this up for video purposes to make this quick. I will silicone it in a few minutes. Alright. Get that out of the way. We don't need her. Flip your diff back over. Your shim goes back in place just like that. Now we're ready to install the torque locker onto your ring gear. Again, this is just like the OEM front axle setup. It comes pre-assembled, but the little springs here will move around in shipping. So you need to set those back in their homes and install the cam gear back into its correct position, just like that. Slide that on there just like that. Now we're ready for the ring gear. Again, you got two dowel pins that go into the carrier right here. You're going to find them, you're going to get them lined up just like that. Oh, that one's going right on there, so this is going to make it easy. Alright, so we're going to take your ring gear bolts, spray them off with brake clean. Do these in the vise too, just like I did the last ones. Factory puts blue Loctite on there, You have to get that off. Take your favorite wire wheel of death. Clean the threads up nice and good. you get that cleaned off, take all your bolts, give them a good spray and brake clean again. Give them a second to dry out. I'll take some red Loctite. Put a drop on each bolt. You don't need much, a dab will do. Alright, done with the Loctite. Get your 14mm socket. Make sure all these are started by hand before you ever put an impact on them. Not want to mess them splines up. Tighten these in a crisscross pattern just like you do your wheel lugs on your car. And I will save y'all the inconvenience of watching me torque these down. I'll do this off camera. And I'll be back in a few minutes. Alright, we got these torqued down. Want to put the diff to the side. We've got to set the bearing back in. Now, I have a driver here because I've done this a bunch of times. It drives this bearing right back down into place. Until it settles all the way down, you hear the tone change. The bearing still spins freely. Now, like I mentioned, you're not going to reuse the tone ring on this side. These new side gears are way bigger than the factory one, so the tone ring will not sit in there. Alright. We still have to put the new seal on this side. Pop the old out. Take your other provided seal. Get it started by hand here. You're going to take your dead blow. Give her a little tappy tap until she's sitting perfectly flush. Alright. Now remember, if there was a shim, have to reuse the shim. Move this over here. And we are going to set the carrier back inside the diff. There she goes. Flip it over. Make sure your seal didn't roll out, which this one did. It's not a big deal. Alright, seal is no longer rolled out. Put your shim back on there. Get ready to install your cover. Find out which way it goes. That way right there. Again, this side too. I'm going to make sure that this seal does not roll out as you're pushing this cover down. Looking good. Alright. Give it a good spin. Make sure everything is moving nice. You're ready for reinstall on this cover as well. No silicone is needed on this side since it's got a nice big O-ring there. Remember to get all your bolts started by hand. But need 12 mil. We'll reinstall our actuator. It pops right in with a nice O-ring. Put your 4 T30 bolts back in it. And you're good to go. That's all there is to it for installing the rear axle locker in your SmartLok. Now, there's a little bit of extra step that we got to do here. I'll move this out of the way. Bring in the knuckle. Now, your front knuckle, your lower ball joint, right above your lower ball joint, has to be grinded down a little bit. And I have a die grinder. I'm going to show you what needs to be taken off, where it needs to be taken off. I have an axle that we can slide in there to make sure it's not hitting anymore. But you're just going to... Now you can do this on the machine or off the machine, it doesn't matter. Set this in your vise because I already have it off. Put some safety glasses on, do some safety squints, and do some grinding. Right above the lower ball joint, the casting has a hump in it right here. All you have to do is grind that down until it's nice and cylindrical like the rest of the hub. Take your axle shaft, slide through your hub, and spin it. Make sure it does not contact the hub. When it gets to that point, included in the kit are these really thin shims that you're going to slide on the axle shaft like this before you slide it into the hub. All that's going to do is give you a little bit more protection from wheel bearings going bad, wheel bearings getting loose, etc., to keep this CV off the inside of your knuckle. When that starts rubbing it, it's going to eat up your knuckle, it's going to heat your CV, you're going to melt boots, you're going to get grease hot. It's not going to be a good day for you. So that's included in the kit. Have to make sure you put that on there. Every hub's cast is a little bit different. Sometimes you got to take a little more off, sometimes you got to take a little less off. It's not a big deal. You grind it, put the axle through, put the nut on the back side, tighten it up until it no longer hits anymore. Then all you're going to do is put the shim on there and reinstall. Simple as that. I think that's about it. This kit is no harder to do than the 24 spline OEM style front axles. It takes a little bit of time. You got a couple little tools, 12 mil, 14 mil, T30, couple pry bars, and a hammer. That's about all you need to do this. Everything is included in the kit for you to be able to assemble this, put back in your machine, and run the same axle all the way around. That's it for this rear axle setup. If you have any questions, you can message me on Facebook or TikTok, Ben Cleveland X3. And hit me up with any messages or concerns. If you don't want to do this, just get a hold of me. Send me your diff, and I will install the locker in your diff for you.